Now I will invite Mr. Owen Rose to come and talk about how to outline an integrated design process to improve indoor air quality in housing. Mr. Rose, who originates from Vancouver, lives in Montreal since 2016. He works for Rose Architecture and is a professional aggregate lead. Mr. Rose has over several years collected diverse experiences of social inclusion and also works for the University of Montreal since 2016. Mr. Rose, thank you very much, and I offer you the floor. Yes, hello. I just wanted to ensure that we control. Thank you for the speakers, the previous speakers. Your content was very appreciated. I will try not to repeat what you have already said, which is precious. Today, I see my role in seeing and putting into place this Eco-Oasis project. I'll speak more about the processes. I'm more used to showing the images because architects work with images, but today it will be a presentation much more axed on process, and I'll see if I'm able to work with my slides. Yes, we are advancing. So Rose Architecture, and we at the firm work with three concepts which come back to all our projects. It is light, the use of wood, and also green. So inside and outside, and the appreciation of the four seasons. Today, we'll speak more about this process of integrated design. And in this case, it's been several years that I animated the process of integrated processes. I worked through several sources, LEED, different versions of LEED, and the Green Guide, which no longer exists or it's less used, Living Building Challenge, the Passive House concepts. There's also a guide on integrated design process, which was published by the CMHC, and information from the Public Works and Services website, Government of Canada. So this is a process which is part of many innovative projects and ecological projects. There's not one sole solution, but it's a way to be inspired. And at the end of the line, it's really the communication that counts in this process. And this process is to communicate all of the aspects, identify them, communicate them, identify the challenges, and next to see the solution, find the solutions. I'll read the slides without reading them too much, but still in this presentation, and I'll be reading more without, I hope, being a reader. So throughout the organized meeting, during a process of organized meetings, the design team is convened to explore the ecological, social, and economic potential of the project with the objective of building healthy housing that can serve as a model for a population with multiple environmental hypersensitivities or chemical sensitivities. So the objective is to bring people back several times to have them speak and share their knowledge. The process, the integrated design process, is to establish objectives and develop strategies to achieve these objectives. In the beginning, it's exploring all project issues, and next, identify specific topics for further study, and exploring the challenges within the projects and establish particular themes to broaden. So in the case of this project on environmental sensitivities, the air quality being one of the objects, the most important objects to elaborate, but it's not the only one. However, it's one of the main elements in this process. So to also integrate external experts and contributors into the team of professionals, such as Dr. Mollot or Refer Wallace, to see how to bonify such information, the different stages of work, and the quality of the project. So the construction project development process, for those who have following on a work site, a construction work site, this can be integrated in a classical process of architectural creation. So in a construction project, this begins with the beginning of the process of conception, which is the design. the ideation of the project, sketches, drafts, comings and goings, establishing everything that we want in a project. And we realize this with preliminary drawings, doing 3D tests, discussing as much with the client as with professionals, as with the city for the permit processes, estimates, and to properly strategize on the objectives. This integrates the meetings with all of the actors to really put on the table all the necessary elements to be studied. Once the design is established, we have a good direction and we know where we're going. We haven't resolved everything yet. These are the preliminary drawings where we're confirming that everything that we want, the dream, be realized, and the challenges are not yet fixed. And throughout this process, we request permits. And in parallel, by negotiating with the concerned town, we begin elaborating definitive documents to create final tender documents. Once we have finished the final tender period, we emit the final documents for construction. And following this, there is the follow-up on the site. And finally, we receive the project. So the stars indicate where the design process is very integral. It's the design, preliminary drawings, and final tender documents. But throughout this process, it's very finely knitted with everybody in the team. And usually this collaboration goes throughout all the way to the end of the project. So the integrated design process is really to focus on the design, construction, operation, and how the project will operate once it's built throughout the usage of the building and its life cycle. So when we talk about the beginning to the end, the renovation for the future, and even future deconstruction could be considered. We rely on a multidisciplinary design team. Sometimes we can say interdisciplinary, so that the members understand and can put into words what the other experts are expressing. And this is a way to better understand and share our knowledge. And in this team, the question is to know how to put into use what we know, but at the same time to name what we don't know, to be able to go and get the supplementary information in order to well develop a project. We elaborate global strategies from the beginning of the design, and we bring the strategy, we make the strategies more and more detailed towards technical development, and we bring all of this towards an optimal solution and proposals. The national process goes through a funnel of big ideas towards the details of how the project will function in its integrity. So how this is done, we are speaking not only of integrated design process, but it's a process of meeting we call design carts, meetings with everybody around the same table, and we discuss. And these are structured meetings with terms and an established process. And each member of the team has his homework to do to bring information that he shares at the table. Ultimately, we're looking for synergy and innovation throughout this process. It's not each person who says, I know what to do and what I have to do, and here it is. It's more, what do we know? What don't we know? We challenge one another in order to find the best solutions. And the synergy, as I said, and the ways to do it responds to several needs. It's not looking at each need separately, but how can we respond to several needs? This is the source of innovation. So there are the periods of retroaction, we call follow-up at each stage. So who has homework to do, what is doable, what isn't doable, where is a hybrid solution to see the problem. We elaborate the project, we name evaluation tools, assessment tools, we look at the challenges, reset, passive hours, or other forms of analysis for the project, either on an energetic aspects or interior air. Next, the collective process improves communications within and coordination within the team. The conception process puts much more emphasis on communication and coordination so that the project be much better thought out by the by the end. The process involves several elements. The air quality, internal air quality is very important, but we also have other elements that we look at in a TP process in terms of maximizing the site potential. What does the site give to us freely? What does Mother Nature offer us freely? Conserving water and avoiding contaminating it in terms of the resources. And in this project, it's the question of artesian wells, drainage, management of waters in the landscape, minimizing the use of energy and resources. Often this goes for itself. And in the case of a project of low-income housing, the cheaper the energy costs, the cheaper it will be for the tenant. For instance, passive solar projects are good projects because in the winter, the heating bill is almost zero. So for people with a low income, the heating won't be too expensive. So the question of using products and materials that are the least damaging for the environment, we try to use products that are not toxic, of course, to capitalize on the local market and encourage our local economy in searching for material, to put forward noble materials. And when I say that in my practice, the usage of wood, which is a national product, is part of this type of research. Following this, the improvement of the quality of the indoor environment, in this case, it's primordial. So everything that we put in the building is to be studied closely. And I will come back to this further in detail later. Also, to maximize operational and maintenance procedures. Once again, what do we use for maintenance? But what are the operations? How do we simplify operations? How do we render operations simple, efficient, inexpensive to maintain throughout time? If we take as an example and a theme, the indoor air quality in a direct process, we bring everyone around the table, we look at the themes that we're going to study. Now, let's go in depth with our knowledge and the needs in terms of this theme. So for instance, I'll give you elements that can be studied, discussed in a process that we work on together. How will we ventilate the kitchen, the bathrooms, the concierge services, workshops, warehouses, etc.? What is an efficient system? What does it involve energetically? What is for? What is against? What are the hybrids? What are the connects systems? How do we work on the level of ventilation in terms of CO2 in the space and to identify the temperature, humidity level? How can we make these spaces comfortable? Also, the objective throughout all of these discussions is to find other elements or to combine solutions. And it's really here where we seek innovation. Throughout the process, because we think that we have all the answers, when we begin, the objective is to see the end of the process, that we discovered all sorts of other solutions that we hadn't foreseen individually, but together we found solutions which are even more interesting. And that is the added value of this type of process of communication and coordination that is shared. So throughout this theme, Rafer Wallace had already evoked the red list. The red list is in the challenge of the living building. There's a whole list of materials to avoid in a project. And this is a beginning, because in the case of people who are sensitive to their environment, it's a question of what else should we add to this list and how to ensure that the products that we're putting in the project do not contain these products. I won't go through it, but of course we recognize many of these products. And it's interesting because we think, for instance, that vinyl is an inert project, but vinyl is in fact a basic chlorine product. And so it trees VOCs, which are cancerogenic genetic products. So we have to find where we can find these products and how to eliminate them. Following this, low emission materials, how to identify them? This is a big challenge. Rufus said, well, how do we find material? Do we choose materials with the most stickers? we have to go beyond this. We know the good categories of products such as adhesives and sealants, paints and coatings, floor coverings, composite woods and adhesives for laminates, and integrated furniture. And these will have much more toxins and chemicals, but we need to identify and find substitutes or to eliminate the usage or the need of such materials in a project. Also, we're talking about responsible industry, which comes out a little bit of the framework of the process of integrated design, but it's still very important because the products that we put forward in a project are the products certified by a third party, and we seek beyond the air quality that the work and production be equitable, fair. Is there authentication, respect of the established norms, and also is the extraction is sustainable for those resources? So there's a whole gamut, but of course the air quality, indoor air quality is part of this research, and the objective to find products which are truly the good, healthy products. So to conclude, the conception integrated design process is increasingly being used to improve the quality of green projects, and ecology also means quality of air product. I mean, if we can do the best project in terms of internal air quality, all the products follow naturally. So this follows through. It's a process that encourages innovation in the projects, and the idea is to put forward professional work amongst all the professionals and external experts. It means it takes more time. So today we're so pushed to realize products as quickly as possible. If we want the project to be successful, as was mentioned earlier, it's also a question of taking time to think through and properly establish the coordination and communication and the putting into action the project. So these are the big themes, and I thank you very much for your attention. Infinite thanks, Mr. Wallace. I enjoy seeing through such presentations the sharing of collective intelligence and how this permits innovation. So this is really a wonderful example